as long as it's that, and as long as some of the expressions in the tapes are expressions which are delusions of grandeur, that's fine.
Okay.
As I said, if there is evidence of taking the line, then you're out of line as a journalist.
The second critical question, Manu Joseph, is whether you deem them to have behaved as couriers and go-betweens, or whether you say they were lobbyists. Is the carrying of messages, asking the Congress to make an individual a minister, or asking for a particular portfolio for that individual, an appropriate message for a journalist to convey?
Yeah, but the issue is more serious than that. To answer your question, no,
it's not appropriate.
It was highly inappropriate what they were doing, but the issue is much more serious than that. Now, we have a situation where Barkha Dutt is talking to a very powerful corporate PR person who's representing two giants, two companies that are interested in the telecom business, and she is very keen on one person becoming the telecom minister. Now, Barkha Dutt is talking to a person and she's aware of the situation. And in my opinion, that is probably the biggest story of the decade. She didn't report that story. So that, I think, is very serious.
Let me put that to you, Sanjay Baru. You've just heard Manu Joseph explain that in the course of her conversations, and this applies to Veer just as much as it applies to Barkha, both of them found out that the DMK was using a professional lobbyist who was at the same time also working for Mukesh Ambani and Ratan Tata to lobby or influence the Congress party. In itself, that revelation should have been a story, Manu Joseph says, for Veer and Barkha to report. They didn't report it. Do you think that they should have reported it rather than hide that fact and try and get involved in conveying messages instead?
Absolutely. I think that is where I would entirely agree with Manu Joseph. This is, this is a developing political story. In those 24 hours, cabinet formation and the entire battle for portfolios, for a political journalist, this is front page story. And there I entirely agree that it's not the job of journalists to be deciding who should get what portfolio, and this is not on.
Alright, Enram, let's come to some of the specifics about Veer first and then Barkha later, which have been revealed in these conversations. Veer seems to have offered to do a scripted interview of Mukesh Ambani. At another point, he repeatedly asks Radia what he should put into his Hindustan Times column counterpoint. An article in your paper on Wednesday shows that at least on one occasion, his column reflected what he was asked to write. What do you make of all of that?
Yes, he has of course said it, those were his views, but it is very embarrassing, and I think there's a real case there of what you shouldn't be doing. I have no idea whether that swung the decision, his column and so on, but the fact that it appeared next day, it requires more serious explanation than he has given.
In other words, his explanation that this was just a coincidence of views is inadequate and insufficient. Is that what you're saying, Ram?
Absolutely. To put it mildly, Karan.
Dilip Chadran, let's now come to some of the specifics about Barkha Dutt. I want to quote to you one of the things she says on the tape. What should I tell them, she asks. Tell me, what should I tell them? And then at a later point she says, I'll talk to Azad. I'll talk to Azad right after I get out of RCR. Many people have interpreted that to mean that she was A, asking for instructions, and then B, willing to convey the message she was given. Is that how you interpret it?
Not at all.